Hello, everybody. It's Ken Davenport here with the Producer's Perspective Live. You are in for a treat tonight. One of my favorite people and certainly one of my favorite performers, Brian Stokes Mitchell, Tony Award winner, Ragtime, Man of We're live. Man of La Mancha, Kiss Me Kate, and of course the chairman of the Actors Fund. And you know we are raising money for the Actors Fund, so yeah, he's watching you tonight. That's up next. What is? Oh. Elsa's here too, working from home. Let's hit it.
We're getting the band back together, getting the boys who rock again. We're getting the band back together, rocking the face of the place that remembers when some punks from the suburbs lit the sky with too much reverb. We're getting the band back together.
Maybe just do a puppet show with Elsa tonight. What do you think? Better than me. Okay, that's what you get when you're working from home and you got a 2-year-old. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm thrilled to see you all here tonight. Who is in the house? Oh, Kathy is back. And Sean, good to see you. Chris Bass. Oh, Kathy's a big Ragtime fan, having been in that show. Crystal, hello from Maryland. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody good? Everybody have a good week? Good, we're in for a treat tonight. Welcome back. Don't forget, if you haven't been here in a few weeks, Kathy Gilmore, then maybe you should go back and check out those. I'm watching you too. I'm watching all of you. This is the internet, which means we can find you wherever you are and know if you're not watching the Producer's Perspective Live. So just remember that next time we run into each other on the street, which probably won't be for about 6 months because, there's a pandemic. Anyway, you can watch all of the replays. Mary, we're up to almost episode 70 now, right? Almost episode 70? Almost? 68? 69? 70? We're close. Go back and watch those. Last week, we had Dory Berenstein on the show. Fantastic producer-to-producer discussion there for sure. So go ahead and check that out. This week, some sad news in the industry. One of the first lighting designers I ever worked with back in 1993 was Howell Binkley. And Howell Binkley unfortunately passed this past week from lung cancer. And the amazing thing is that I wrote this. I used to bump into Howell, of course, like we all do. And I wrote this in my blog this week. I was just talking to him about a show a couple months ago. And it was over email and such, and you just never would have known anything was wrong. He was just talking about a show that was going to happen in 6 months, 9 months, a year, and that's who Howell was. He was just an unbelievably passionate and positive man, and our hearts go out to his family during this very, very difficult time. And the lights on Broadway are just going to be a little bit dimmer. So we, again, a moment of silence for Howell. Do not forget, we are here for the Actors Fund. That's why we started this thing, to support this incredible organization. And this is normally when I would go on and talk a little bit more about this organization. But you know what? We have someone who knows a heck of a lot more about this organization than I do and is a much better advocate for anything than I am, because he's just a touch charismatic. Let's bring him on and meet him screen to screen, Mr. Brian Stokes Mitchell.
Hello, Ken, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm great, Stokes. How are you?
I'm good, but your hair looks so much nicer than mine. Why don't you have COVID hair?
I've had it many times. I don't know what's happening. I just changed color, and then it's, I did have my first COVID haircut a couple weeks ago. It was a very bizarre experience.
See, that's why. You were masked, but still, you look great. See?
Yeah.
So
have you let your wife cut your hair? Have you done that?
No, actually, the very first time I cut my hair, and then I thought, okay, it looked good from the front. I didn't know what the back looked like. And then the second haircut, I was doing a show. It was for a July 4th show for Washington, D.C. And they actually had a hair and makeup person there. So I said, please cut my hair. So she gave me a proper haircut, and that was a good thing. But I was thinking of just shaving all my hair off, and I said, hey, Ellington, that would be fun, my son. I said, wouldn't it be fun? We'll do that, and we'll do it online. We'll do it on YouTube or something. And but he said, no, I don't want to do that. So I don't know.
He would.
Maybe I've been isolated too long and shut in. I don't know, these crazy ideas that are coming into my head now. How are you?
Listen, I am like all of us, living the pandemic dream. I think we are just living the pandemic dream.
Oh man.
You've been like the busiest guy. I mean, you were one of the first people I spoke to actually when this all happened, because I was concerned and was thinking about the Actors Fund and what could we do. Tell me where you were when you started to realize that this was going to be serious for the industry, for the Actors Fund. Like, where was the moment? Where were you when the virus hit the fan, as I say?
Wow. Yeah. That's an interesting question, because I don't know if I thought about it in those terms because I actually had it. That was, one thing that hit me. I thought, okay, this is no fun. This is really serious. It was before that, though. Joe Benincasa, who's the president and CEO of the fund and has been there more than 30 years. And it's just, I call him the heart of the fund. He and I had been in many, many conversations. We've been talking with the staff, with the board as well. And, just trying to figure out how are we going to do this. And one of the things I have to say about Joe and the staff is they were incredibly proactive. They had everybody moved out and working from home. They kind of moved people around because they knew our emergency assistance fund was going to get hit really hard, which it indeed did. So people were trained so that, and I'll tell you more about that later. So people were trained so they could take care of all of the calls. But Joe was really, really on top of it. So when was that? I would have to say it was early on in the probably I actually had it in late February, early March. So it was before that. I think when we all heard this was going on, we were starting to take it seriously because you could see that the way that was spreading in other parts of the world. When it hit New York, particularly in Broadway and show business, it was going to knock us out. And so it was pretty early on.
And I hate to bring up this subject, but how bad was it for you? Like, what did you have? Horrible symptoms? We're hearing all sorts of stories.
I had horrible symptoms. Yes, not as horrible as some have had, because but I had about as horrible as symptoms as you could get without ending up in the hospital. I had lost my sense of taste and smell, which was the nice symptom. If that's the only symptom you get, that's the one I would pick. But I also had the worst body aches of my life, the worst headache of my life, the worst fever of my life that actually went up to, on its worst night, went up to 104.8. And I called Dr. Jason Kent, the doctor at the Actors Fund clinic in Midtown, and he was like really helped me get through it. He said, call me whenever. And I said, okay, my temperature is 104.8. Shouldn't I be dead now? And he said, no, you can go up to 105 or 106 before organ damage starts. But he said, can you breathe? I said, yeah. He said, can you are your lips blue? I said, no. I said, should you go into the hospital? He said, no. Under no circumstances go to the hospital unless it's a life-threatening thing like you can't breathe. And particularly back then, if it seems like so long ago now, but the hospitals weren't set up. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have know how to admit patients. He was saying, if you don't have it, because I thought I did, and I'd been tested, but I hadn't gotten the results back. He said, if you don't have it, you could pick it up there, or you could pick up a secondary infection. He said, stay away from the hospital. So thanks to his great care, and Allison as well, my wife and my son, I ended up getting through it. But it was no fun. But I had about as bad as you can get it without really ending up in the hospital.
Oh God, yeah, it's Alex here says how scary. I can't even imagine what that must have been like for you and your family. Did they get it as well, or were you isolated? Like how did that work? That's the
now. Here's the other great lesson. I was isolated in the bedroom, and but we had kept the door closed, and Allison would slide food under the door, and she wouldn't got that bad, but she was very, very careful, and I stayed away from the family. When I went out, I wore a mask. We were washing our hands incessantly, and here's the news: is that they did not get it, and I think it's because it's two simple things: wearing a mask, washing your hands. Those were the things. And also Allison then would wipe down, the surfaces, I think in the evenings as well, and just make sure everything was clean, the doorknobs and everything. But that attests to how powerful just those two simple things are.
Yeah, what a great message if anyone is out there worried about what to do. I mean, your family was in the house with you, and washing your hands and
Yep.
wearing a mask was enough of a barrier.
Yeah, and my son and I share the bathroom. We have two restrooms here. We have the boys' bathroom and the girls' bathroom, and he and I share the boys' bathroom. And even sharing a bathroom, he did not get it. So
I wonder if one of those bathrooms is bigger. Something tells me the girls' bathroom is a little bit bigger than yours.
It might be, yes.
So you're going through all of this personal stuff, and then on top of it, you have to think about the Actors Fund, and you're an unbelievable advocate, and you had to leap into action, I assume, because so many people were needing your help.
Well, yeah, but I also would love to say first, Ken, so many people were helping and offering to help, like you've been doing here with your show. So many people stepped forward. Literally, Jason Howland called me, who was the musical director for Beautiful. And he said, I have this really great idea to do You've Got a Friend with the cast, and we did this tape of it. And I want to do it for the Actors Fund. And I said, oh, Jason, that sounds terrific. I'd love to see, what can you just show me? Do you have anything? He said, yeah, we have a rough of it already. And I said, I'll call you back and I'll take a look at it and I'll call you back in 5 minutes and let you know. And I took a look at it, and it took me about 20 minutes to call him back, because when I looked at it, I literally burst out in tears. For one thing, what he didn't know was I was laid out flat in my bed. That was like when I was going through the worst of it. And then to see this incredible act of kindness, of generosity, not only from Jason, who put this whole arrangement together. He sent it out to musicians who played on this video, all the cast members that were all over the place that sang different parts that he hummed in. And then it was all edited together in this beautiful piece. You can still find it online. If you put in You've Got a Friend and I think Actors Fund on YouTube, you can see this incredible thing that he did. And it just sounds amazing. And just to see the gratitude and generosity of our community coming together to do something nice for not only for the Actors Fund, but just to help people out and to lift people's spirits. And it really was an incredible thing. So that's been one of the most amazing things, of all of these people coming forward. Seth Rudetsky and James Wesley, who've been doing Stars in the House, forever now. They've raised close to $500,000. Rosie O'Donnell came on and she did, the Rosie O'Donnell show for one night, and that raised more than $600,000. And then we've had all the different unions and organizations that help us that have really been coming forward, because the Emergency Assistance Fund, as I was saying, Emergency Assistance Fund is for the most essential things during an emergency. It helps people pay for things like food, for their prescription, for their insurance, the most essential things. Generally in a year, we would give out about $2 million for the entire year to probably about, I think, 1,000 people for the Emergency Assistance Fund. Since March 24th, I think it is, we've given away over $14 million to more than 11,000 people. And this is thanks, we're able to do that thanks to the generosity of people like you and the people that have been donating through your site and through the Actors Fund site, and also all of our partners as well that have been donating, like Netflix and TikTok and the different organizations that BCEFA, of course, which is our sister organization and our single largest donor over time. So we're just really grateful to everybody for being a part of this collaboration to help us all get better.
And it's just amazing, because $14 million for the essentials, like the medicine and food. And I think this is a great segue just to say, this is far from over. So I imagine you're going to be giving away a lot more money, which means you're going to need a lot more money, which means donate now, everybody.
Yeah, and what's really been amazing is, like on your show, on Seth and James' show as well, just when people come in and they just donate $10, whatever. Everybody is hurting right now. And it's really, really incredible. And we are so grateful for any donation anybody is able to make. Of course, if somebody wants to give $100,000, that's fine too. But really, it's just amazing, the generosity of people, especially in this time of trouble for all of us. So we're really, really grateful.
And you've been doing some concerts. Have you been doing some virtual stuff? Tell us about what this experience has been like for you.
Yeah, I've been doing a million virtual concerts. It's crazy. You know, I said I've been working, I think I'm working harder now than I was when I was getting paid for it. And because, you know, you're constantly doing things, and virtual concerts too, you know, people don't understand. These are so hard to do because, you know, you watch it like the Sondheim thing. We did this special thing for, you know, Steve Sondheim's birthday, you know, and everybody did all these Sondheim numbers, you know, and it's just amazing for me to watch everybody and realizing everybody's just sitting in their house staring at a cold, hard, you know, camera on their, you know, computer, singing these songs, trying to, you know, bring them to life, and they were doing it. But the other thing that I think people sometimes don't think about, and I've really started to kind of appreciate this now, is, you know, you're watching people sing these incredible songs, but what we forget is they're also the camera person, the lighting person, the sound person, the costume person, the makeup person, the hair person. You know, if there's a teleprompter or something like that involved, they're also the teleprompter, you know, person. I mean, you're wearing all of these hats, and if any one of those people messes up, you got to start all over again, you know. So that's one of the hardest things about it. But crazy thing is, I just 2 days ago, I did my first live concert in Michigan. I went up to Bay Harbor, Michigan, and they have a theater there that seats 600 people, and because of social distancing and everything they've been doing with it, they were able to fill it with about 125 seats. And so that was my very, very first concert to do since February, because all my other concerts have been canceled or moved ahead, or sometimes just turned into a virtual concert. So it was really kind of nice to be able to perform for these audience members as spaced out as they were, spaced out physically, not mentally. And it was really quite a wonderful thing. And I did that with Joe Thalken, the terrific pianist that everybody knows.
What I love about that is that, you know, we've seen so many people like you, these big stars that are used to having, you know, all these people around them, and then they have to figure it out themselves. And because they're theater people, they just pull it off. Just so many people are doing so much.
It's what we do. Let's put on a show, Judy.
It's really incredible. It's
yeah.
Really incredible. And in the midst of this, of course, after the tragic murder of George Floyd, yes. You tell us a little bit about this unbelievable organization you co-founded along with your wife and 21 other co-founders, Black Theater United. Just tell us a little bit about the origins of that, and then what's in the future for this.
Well, it started as a response to, you know, the murders of George Floyd and Breonna and Tamar, and, you know, I mean, this has been going back for many, many years. One of the interesting things, and bringing back to your questions, I just want to go off on a little tangent right now. One of the things, you know, that's interesting about where we are as a world right now, this whole thing with this pandemic, I mean, it seems like everything has kind of come together at the same time to hit us at the same time, and we're getting hit particularly hard. But I have to say that if there's a good side to a pandemic, and that's much too kind a word to use in this terrible situation with people suffering so much and so much death and as well. But one of the things that I think we didn't anticipate is the fact that because people were sitting at home in isolation, watching their television, they saw this horrendous murder happen right in front of their eyes on the news. And normally, you know, because we've seen that before. They have been taped, and, you know, the Black community has been talking about, this is terrible. Why isn't somebody helping us with this? Is it terrible? Don't you see what is going on here? And I think because before everybody could see something like that and then go, oh, that was terrible. Okay, so what are we doing tonight? We're going to a movie, right? Or, oh, so we're meeting our friends at the bar, or whatever it was, or go see a show. This was one time when we were still forced to be in our thoughts, in our isolation, and so it really forced everybody to have a reckoning with that. And then, you know, what happened with the gentleman in Central Park who was bird watching, you know, and the woman called him, obviously, you know, and that was also on tape. All of these things came together, and I think, you know, there were a lot of Americans that finally understood what was going on. And the formation of Black Theater United happened as a result of that. And it kind of started with Audra McDonald and LaShawns and Shelley Williams, a wonderful director and talented activist as well. And they all started some conversations, and shortly after, they just started calling other friends, because we play cards, we hang out, all those folks there, and then a bunch of others joined us as well. Those are other members. They're not the founding members. Some of them are in that picture, but we have other members that just joined us, and allies as well that have joined us by the score, which has been really, really fantastic, so that we could deal with the systemic racism that has been going on, not only in this country, but we kind of want to look at things in a macro and a micro level. So on a macro level right now, we've been partnering with some organizations like Stacey Abrams and Fair Count, and talking about the census. And we'll get back to that too, because that's a really, really important thing. If people have not filled out their census, I really love to talk about that. And we also partnered with Harness for that, another organization, to deal with the census. And we're also having conversations about what's going on in the theater as well, because there's lots of stories that have been coming out that people now understand that it's part of show business, and especially in the theater. So we're looking at all of these different ways to help. And united is the operative word. Black Theater United. United is the operative word, I think, in our organization. What we're trying to do is get people together for conversation and get actionable things that can be done to unite people and to move on to the next new stage that we can enter wonderfully and collaboratively as not only a profession, but as a country as well, and as a city.
And speaking of that census, we have a video from another incredible performer and activist, Billy Porter, who you made us aware of this video, which we can roll right now.
Another founding member of BTU. Go ahead and roll it. We'll talk after that.
30-second video from Billy Porter. Check this out, everybody.
There's a million of us, black, male, born 1969. There's only one of me. I am fierce, queer, powerful. I am an artist. There's only one of you. Whether you're singing with joy or shouting in protest, your voice is only heard if you make yourself known as part of the census. Time is running out to be counted, and if you're not there, they don't have to care. Be counted. There's only one of you.
So that is our first spot that we're doing in partnership with Fair Count, and there's only one of me, there's only one of you, and it's about getting people out, because a lot of people don't realize what the census is. It's so important. The census determines basically money and power. The money is $1.5 trillion a year. It determines where those go into like 300 different kinds of funds all over the place. One of the reasons most likely that the black communities and brown communities got hit so hard with COVID was because during the 2010 census, they weren't counted. And because they weren't counted, that money does not go to those communities. And that's why it's so important to make sure everybody's counted so that they can get that money and get that power as well. It also is used for redistricting. So there's a lot of gerrymandering going on, and that prevents that from being able to happen. But mostly it's about getting money where it's really needed and getting these programs. I mean, with the 2020 census, likely what that means is that once we get a vaccine for this, whenever that may be, the 2020 census will be one of those factors that will probably help decide where that vaccine is going to go first, because it's not going to just go every place all of a sudden. It's going to go to very specific places and begin in certain places. And the census is one of the things that helps decide that. It helps decide education, what money goes to education funds, infrastructure funds, sometimes in cities as well, and to state and local governments. So it's incredibly important. They don't ask you. The information that's taken at the census is only kept there. Nobody else can use it. DHS cannot use it. None of the organizations can use it. There are no questions about your citizenship on it. So It's so easy to do, and it takes 10 minutes to do it. Everybody, if you haven't filled it already, please go and find that envelope. If you think you might have thrown it out, you can go onto 2020census.gov, I believe is the site, or just Google in 2020 census, and it'll take you there. And you can fill it out. It's really simple to do. You just tell who you are and who's in your household, and some very basic information. No trick questions, and that's how it's done. But that's going to determine where the money and the power is going to go to. So fill out your census, and then once you've done that, call 10 family members and friends, or people that you know that may not have done that, or 5 of them even, and then tell them to do the same. Tell them to fill it out and call 5 of their friends as well. Because if I may, the census was supposed to end July 31st, but because of COVID, it was extended to October 31st. But then certain members of the government thought, nah, maybe this isn't such a good idea, because they knew that especially Black and brown communities are the ones often that when the live census takers go out, they go out to the people that haven't filled out the census. And it tends to be a lot of rural Black and brown communities, poorer communities that this happens with. And the powers that be decided, oh, you know what, October 31st is too much time. Let's cut it back even more. And so now it's been cut back to end September 31st. And that month was a very crucial, helpful month, and not happening now. So we just especially need to be on top of it.
I have a very important question to ask you, but I want to remind everyone that if you have questions, please throw them in the chat. Mary may grab one of you to ask Stokes live and in person. But here's my very serious question.
Yes.
And it is serious.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever considered a career in politics yourself? Don't laugh. This is not funny.
No, you know what? People always ask me that. If I could pick like the last thing that I would ever want to do, it would probably be politics. You know, one of the things, first thing, it's a joy. I mean, getting to do what we do, you and I, and all the people that work in the arts, I think we're the luckiest people in the world. We get to, not only do we get to do something that we love to do, we get to do something that makes people feel good, that makes them happy, that opens their minds, that opens their hearts, that makes them think differently, that can make them have an epiphanal moment that changes their life forever. So they leave the theater different than they were when they walked in, and they're forever changed because of something that they saw, something that they shared with an audience, something that some brilliant writer put on the stage with some brilliant company, and it allowed them to realize, oh, I thought I was the only one in the world that felt that. I thought I was the only one. Oh my God, I never thought of that before. I never saw that before. I never realized that before. Like people had that same epiphanal realization watching what happened to George Floyd on television. That same thing happens, but in a nice way, in a more pleasant way than watching somebody get murdered in front of your eyes. It happens in a way where you get sung to and you get danced to and you get, monologued to and you learn about yourself and about human beings and about how similar we are and how alike we are and how much we forget sometimes that we are all one species on this planet and we are just here together. This is the only place we have, and we only have each other. And that's what the theater does by telling stories that connect us together and make us realize that. And politics, you don't get to do that. Politics, it's about a whole bunch of other things. Sometimes it's about really underhanded things that are going on, as we have been, all witness to as well. And I don't want to be a part of that. And that just becomes a part of that business because it's the nature of the business. I don't want to be a part of a business like that. I want to be a part of a business that makes people feel good and builds people up and connects people and unites them.
I mean, not even a senator? This is a senator. What's the...
No, not even a senator. I have lots of politician friends because I've done a lot of things. I've done lobbying for the arts in Washington, D.C. with Americans for the Arts, another organization that I'm on the board of, which is a nonpartisan arts lobbying and advocacy organization. If you don't know about this organization, man, and I know this is your audience, if you love the arts of all kinds, not just theater, music, dance, painting, sculpture, crafts as well. You want to be a part of Americans for the Arts because they have, that's the organization that usually saves the NEA every year. And you can go to americansforthearts.org and join their Arts Action Fund for free. And they will keep you informed about how senators and congressmen are performing on certain things, what kinds of legislation is going out, and who you can write to. And all you need to do is, they make it so simple. You put in your zip code, they say, here's your senator, here's your congressman, and here's a letter. If you just want to sign your name to it, or if you want to write your own, you can do that as well. But it keeps the importance of the arts alive, because for me, the arts are everything in our life that is beautiful, that is not nature. And I think a lot of, sometimes they call them civilians, and civilians are people that don't really go to the arts or use the arts. They think, and they're not involved in the arts, and they think that the arts aren't important. So, when they cut the budgets of schools, or the city budgets of arts, they're not even thinking what that means. But, art is all around us. I mean, look at my room here. I mean, I've got art on the wall. I've got things that were made by, that created these sculptures here. My son made those Legos there, the Lego airplane. There's an artist back here that painted that, but there's an artist that made the cabinet, that is in front of me that you can't see. When you turn on your television, and as we're all so isolated now, watching Netflix or Hulu or whatever is watching, or television, you're watching the work of artists, not just the actors, but the writers, the directors, the cameramen, the craftspeople, the set designers, the costume designers. They're all artists. If you're listening on your earphones, when you want to escape with some music, you're listening to artists, not just the singer, but also musicians, the orchestrator, the arrangers, the mixer, the mastering engineer. It's all around us, and we're swimming in art so much that we're like fish swimming in water. We don't realize how important it is. So that's what Americans for the Arts does. They really kind of remind us and keep hooking us in to how we can save the arts, because the arts, man, we're all living on the arts. Imagine what life would be right now if we didn't have the television and couldn't escape in our earphones and listen to music. I mean, I for one would be crazy.
Your positivity and passion is just, it's so infectious. I hate to use that word in the middle of a pandemic, but it just is. And I've got to shift gears slightly and just talk about your process as an actor, because it's related. For those of you who don't know, I was very fortunate. One of my first jobs in the business was as the assistant company manager for the original company of Ragtime. Woo! Not only work with this man, but just, it was one of the greatest educational experiences of my life, because I got to watch you work, and Audra and Peter Friedman and Frank Galati and like all these amazing people. I used to joke that some people would, on their like lunch break or smoke break, they'd go outside. I'd literally go up to this like theater and just watch you guys do this stuff. Anyway.
And look at you now. Look at you now. That's why, because you were curious and you loved it and you had a passion for it as well. And you were around this great Frank Galati and Graciela Danielle, Terrence McNally, rest his soul. He was one of the first casualties in our industry of COVID as well. And Hal Binkley I loved as well. By the way, and thanks for the moment of silence for him, another brilliant genius. But all of these incredible people, Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens, and it was a magical time. And it's a testament to you that you kind of could feel what we were feeling as well, and thought, oh, let me soak this in. This is something special and magical.
Tell me a little bit about your process, because what I was going to say is, and then we'll get into your process a little bit, because you were always so positive and like, hey, Ken, I mean, you were just the night, and who was that? I mean, I was just, walking around getting your house seats or whatever I was doing. You were always so friendly and positive and such a company leader. Yet I watched you also turn into that character. I remember there was one time, I forget which scene it was, but it was obviously deep into Act 2, and you came off stage for the 30 seconds you were off stage in that damn show. And I remember being scared. I mean, I was like, oh God, there's Cole House. I'm in trouble. But yet you could literally, after the show, be this unbelievably positive and passionate man you are. How do you, when you're doing a show like that or like anything, how do you get into character in a moment like that? How do you come out of it being this man that you are?
That's an interesting question, because it kind of varies from show to show, but I've noticed there's been kind of a pattern, and Ragtime was an unusual show, and I think it was unusual for everybody. I could talk for hours about Ragtime alone and all the very unusual. It was like the universe said, yes, this was supposed to happen. You just felt like we all gathered and we were supposed to do that and make that happen. And everybody has unusual stories. For that role, when Garth Drabinsky first told me that he had this, role for me, I was doing Kiss of the Spider Woman at the time. And he said, I have a role for you. I want you to do this. He wouldn't tell me for months. And finally he said, okay, it's Ragtime. It's Coal House Walker. I want you to do this role. We're getting ready to start, workshops for it. I said, and I want you to play Coal House, he said. And I said, oh, Garth, that's great. Amazing. Because I'd seen the movie. I hadn't read the book at that point. But I remember loving the movie. And I thought, that's terrific. When you get more information, let me know. That's what I said on the outside. On the inside, I said, Coal House Walker, I am so wrong for that role. But that's also, I found, been a pattern as well. That's pretty much every role I've ever done. I've always said that, including Fred Graham in Kiss Me Kate. I'm so wrong for that role. That's always my reaction. Then I have to kind of find my own in. But what was interesting with Ragtime was I remember the very first workshop that we did, we were all sitting around a very large table. There were probably 50 people. They'd put a bunch of tables together. And one of the things that Stephen had already written was that very first da 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 da. That was already written on the piano, and he was sitting at the piano as we started reading it. And as he played that, and as the little boy, who by the way was Paul F. Dano, who became big famous actor as well at first in Canada. He was our little boy. I could feel something huge and magical descend on the room. And that character also, the term I use is he blew into me. I did lots of research and reading on it and on the period and on the time and everything. But he's one of those people that just kind of blew into me and didn't leave. Some characters you have to work harder on. And as in the course of a show, while doing a show, when I'm first doing it, I'm working on it. And it's hard for me to put the character away. But it got to the point where literally I could be in the character and in the role on the stage, walk off stage, and the second I'm off stage, I could be back into myself. But that gets shorter and shorter as time goes, and I'm working on it. So you said 30 seconds for you, so I still hadn't, quite gotten all the way to the I was still trying to figure out how to get in and out of this guy properly.
So what made you, if you didn't think it was for you, and this sounds like it's a repeated theme for you, what made you say yes? What made you finally go like, okay, I'm going to do it? Because I think a lot of people, scared, fear, whatever, they would be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, that's another great question. A lot of things, I think for one thing is if you ever have an opportunity to do something and you're asked to do something and it's like a kind of a cool thing like that, and it scares you, that means you probably should do it. There's probably something to learn from it. And so that was part of it. And then I started just thinking about it and thinking, okay, what do I have in common with him? What can I give this character in particular? And I already knew Wheels of a Dream. That was the first song that I think Stephen and Lynn wrote, and we did it at the 92nd Street Y at a Lyrics and Lyricists, one of their shows that they did there. And that was the first time. And I think Lynn called up, I think she said she had called up Garth and said, I think we have a Coal House at that point. But he and I had already been in conversations anyway about that. Yeah, exactly. But where was I going with that? Now I got scrolled. Oh yeah, so it's good to do something that scares you every once in a while. Also, it was it was being written for me. He was thinking about me for it. Everybody was excited about me doing it. So I thought all of these incredibly brilliant people think that I should be doing this. So I'm gonna shut up and be humble and be quiet and learn and go with it. And it was obviously the very right thing to do.
Was it someone asked here in the chat? I'm just scrolling through it. Someone asked one of your favorite roles of all time. Was it your favorite of all the stuff? I mean, you played such incredible characters.
I've been so lucky, Ken. I say that's the most magical show that I've done of all of them, because again, I could tell you so many stories that are just unusual and weird in their synchronicity with this time. I mean, like right now, I have a bunch of cars going out on Broadway there, you probably are hearing. One of the joys of living in New York City.
They cruise by my window at about, you're going to hear them in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're doing the tour, the Manhattan tour. Where was I? See, I'm so easily scrolled now. Tell me if this happens to you. Time and my mind has gone all over the place now. It's like I can't remember what day it is anymore. It seems like every day is Blur's day. It's just like what day is this? And we don't have the things that we usually have in our life that kind of define a day or a weekday or a weekend. And so I found my head is like in all of these different directions now. It usually is, but it has even less on it, keeping it in.
Pandemic brain. Well, I will tell you this. My favorite, I'm just going to share my favorite moment in the show with Ragtime. And then you could tell me, because I think if I remember correctly, this morphed a little bit and I watched every moment. So I'm going to tell you, and if you remember this, you can tell me how it happened, which was the end of Act 1.
I bet I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
The end of Act 1, the funeral, right? So you're there and you're over Sarah's body. So when I watched it first over the coffin, right? So the first time I saw it, you were there, and then I saw you over several days. You had a rose carnation. Then one day you pulled it out, and then I think the next day you started to crumple it up and sprinkle the roses over, and then you faltered. Do you remember this moment in the show where this unbelievably strong man faltered, and the men behind you all got put their hands on your shoulder? And I remember that changing a little bit, and it was just the most. And you watching you in that moment, I could see every single thing that this man was going through. And it's one of the finest pieces of acting I've ever seen on a stage.
Oh, you're so kind. Well, thank you. Well, I can take only part of that credit because that's that incredible company that was around us as well, that were all just an amazing group of men and women, of singers, of performers, of artists as well. We had one of the magical days how's our time doing, by the way? Because I don't want to get on the long stories.
If people want to jump off, let them. I'll just sit here and tell you. Ragtime all night long. We'll go to La Mancha next. Prince next. I don't care. I mean, we'll go
okay, that sounds good. Yeah, we'll jump from all the show to show. One of the most magical days I've actually ever had in the theater was a day that we were just going to do this little kind of exercise one day, and this was in Canada. I think during the second or third. I think it was the third workshop where we were actually mounting the show, and we got together and I had conversations with Frank Galati about this, because I'd been talking to people and he wanted everybody to create characters. So we actually sat down in a big circle in a separate room and everybody just started talking about who their characters are. Some people were immigrants. Some people were from the Harlem community. Some of them were from the New Rochelle community. But all of the ensemble members had made up these incredible backstories about who their characters were, how they came through Ellis Island. I remember one of the people said when she came through Ellis Island, she was a little girl and both her parents died on the way across. And she started getting sick by the time they hit Ellis Island. And a lot of times they would turn people away from Ellis Island. If they had tuberculosis, they would put them in quarantine and they turn them away if they had something terrible. And she says she remembers she had a hard time walking as well. And she was starting to develop a cough and she had fallen. So she was having a hard time walking. And she was so afraid that they would see her and take her away and send her back. And so she told this story, because she finally ultimately got through. About 5 people later, another immigrant tells the story about coming through Ellis Island. And he says, and I remember it was my wife and I, and we lost a child. And I remember seeing a child there who was limping and just on her own. And we took her and we picked her up as if she were our own child. And we carried her with us. And all of the stories that people started telling started melding together in all of these interesting ways, sometimes against each other, sometimes a story like that. It was really, really, I'm just getting chills now just telling it again. But that's what that show was. So when you saw that and saw what the people around me were doing, and Cole House's men, it came from because they're incredible artists and they knew who they were and what was going on. And Frank Galati, incredible director, who filled our heads with the right information so we knew who we were and what was happening in the time. And Graziella Danielle, of course, who did the musical staging for the show, which is a huge portion of that show is Grazie's work. It was just a really special experience. But the other role is Don Quixote. I love that guy. He's maybe kind of close to who I am, and I just love his spirit and what he brings out of people, by being kind of a fool, but he brings out the best in people, and that's what we get to be as actors.
Mary will find a video of Impossible Dream and throw that into the chat as well, so everyone can hear you do that, because it's quite something. I want to you again maintain this unbelievable positivity in a very, very challenging time. Personally, you went through something. At the beginning of this, you were ill. The Actors Fund. You founded Black Theater United. You in the midst of all this pain and suffering, you managed to be optimistic and positive in all of it, including, by the way, I have to draw attention to the fact that you were leaning outside your window singing, singing to the streets. I think we have a photo of this somewhere. Yes, look at this. Look at this man. That is the epitome of who you are. And this is a difficult time for so many people, and you've gone through so much. How do you do it? How do you stay positive? And what tips can you give everyone watching out there to stay positive during this very challenging time?
That's a $1 million question. Here's what I think, and I don't know. Okay, and I reserve the right to be full of caca is my motto. So I say to people, if I have something good to say, that hits you, take it, run with it. If I don't, leave it there. But this is what I think. I think, because I've thought about this about the Actors Fund too. The Actors Fund has been around for 138 years, and it's been helping people, not just actors, anybody who makes their living in the show business and performing arts. It feels to me like this moment where we are now, the last 138 years have been this incredible preview that a lot of things have gotten accomplished for this moment where we are now in the world that seems like all of this negative energy has come together at the same time, between our politics, between what's going on with race in this country, how it's come to a head at this point, between what's going on in our government, really what's happening in the world. There's an energy right now that you can see happening all over the world. And it feels to me like, because the Actors Fund has been able to help so many people, that I feel like, well, maybe this is the reason the Actors Fund was put on the planet, was for this very moment. But I also think it's the reason I was put on the planet and why I've been the chairman of the board for 16 years. But I feel like really this is the moment that's important. Extending that, it's why you are on the planet right now. You, Ken Davenport, you who are listening to the show, it's no accident. There's a reason we are here in this world at this time together. We have a choice at this time to be a part of the problem, or we can be a part of the solution. We can help, people. We can wear a mask. We can help with the pandemic. We can open conversations with Black Lives Matter and what's going on in our own world by questioning ourselves, questioning how we view things, asking friends what we can do. There are ways that we can be proactive and be a part of the solution to all of the problems that we have, and that really goes for all of our life. I really do believe we are all here for a purpose, and there is no life that is too unimportant. People look at what actors and politicians and astronauts and other people are doing that get lots of press, and those seem like really important people. But you know what? The world is really, the engine of the world is the people that just go through day to day without being really recognized, without getting applauded in their work, and they are just fine, upstanding human beings, and they live their lives in the best way that they can, with the most integrity that they can, and they try to be helpful in their communities, in their families, in their own world, because that's what spreads out. So it's no accident that I'm here, that you're here, that we're all here right now, and we have to make a conscious choice what side of this do we want to be on? Do we want to be on a side that's going to be helpful to people and move things forward? Do we want to be on the side of people which is ignoring it? And by ignoring it, you can't unsee things that have been seen. You can't unrealize things that you have realized as well. That's a universe saying, move forward now, move forward and do something with that. And I feel very fortunate in my entire career that this is all I've ever done. I've only made my living as an actor. I never had to wait tables. I've never had to do anything. I call myself the luckiest actor in the world. And the older I get, the more I can't believe that. And the universe has been incredibly wonderful to me. Universe, God, Buddha, Allah, whatever you want to call that name of God or that energy that is all things. And when that energy asks you to give back, do. It's the right thing to do. It feels good and it's helpful and it'll make you feel good. And I think it takes the world to another higher place. Maybe not a huge higher place, just a little bit is all we need at a time. If everybody just moves it up a little bit in the course of their lifetime, some wonderful things can happen. Imagine where we'll be 500 years from now.
Well, everyone, I hope you'll hear those words and move up that little thermometer that we're using to raise some money for the Actors Fund based on that. Stokes, you are one of those performers that make shows better just by being in them. You take, that moment I described in Ragtime, that wasn't on the page. That was just all you. You can say it was everyone. It was, but of course, you were that leader. And you are one of those people that just make the world a better place, period. That's it. So I will be your campaign manager whenever you want. If you ever change your mind, I will do anything. I will get coffee, you name it. I can't thank you enough for being here. And
will you give me a haircut?
I will give you a haircut.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe sold.
Mayor, selectman.
I'm so honored to have joined you and all your viewers today. And thank you to you and all your viewers on behalf of the Actors Fund as well for helping us out and for helping people out that really need help now. Actors and performers are going without insurance and we're really hit hard. We'll be one of the last sectors to come back. Unfortunately, Broadway and all performers, just because it's all about being close together and breathing and spitting and kissing and hugging and, doing all of those things. So it's very, very difficult. So this is helping all of those artists that you've been loving throughout all this time, kind of get through this really hard time. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Stokes. We will see you soon, hopefully.
Sounds great, Ken. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it. Stay well, stay safe, and let's love one another.
I mean, I'm speechless. I'm speechless when I see him perform, and I'm speechless whenever I'm in a room with him because I'm telling you, it's just like watching him perform. My mouth drops and I just want to listen. He's an unbelievable man. We are so lucky to have him as a leader of our industry. Please, please, please throw a little money into the Actors Fund kitty. You can do it on my Facebook page. It means a lot. And I'm stuttering and stammering right now because he always just gets me like that. It just gets me. And he's the type of people that inspire me to do other things. So I'm going to do some other things. And I hope you'll watch along with me. Next week, we will be back with, who do we have next week? We have another amazing actor, Patrick Page from Hadestown. And also he did the Deaf West Spring Awakening. So he'll be here next week. Don't forget about the Actors Fund. Don't forget about the replays. What else do we have? Ooh, of course, we have something to make you smile. And get this, Mary has been very, very hard at work hacking StreamYard. That's right. She's been hacking it. She's been getting in there and tinkering with it and throwing up the hood and figuring out how she could play the video for something to make you smile right continuously from this live stream. So no break. You don't have to go anywhere else. You can just watch it from here. And by hack, I mean they released a feature which allows her to play the video. So good job, Mary. Good job. I'll promote you for that. This video is Eddie Cooper and Lily Cooper. Could they be related? I think so, because they probably shot this from the same place, since they have to be. This is, oh geez, this is Meat Truck. Meat Truck from a parody of Tiger King, the musical. This is the second one that we've talked about on this live stream. Remember Tiger King? Remember this thing? It seems like back when Stokes and I were doing Ragtime that thing was out, but it was only like 4 months ago. It wasn't 20 years ago. Eddie Cooper and Lily Cooper, Meat Truck, Tiger King, the musical. Stay right here. Do not stop watching this station. It's going to play. I'm just going to go away. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.
Exotical cats meet late at night in a cagical cage at GW Zoo. Exotical man will soon be here to make his exotical choice. But who? For waiting down there is the youthicide lair, where exoticals go when they make children cry. Exoticals pray when the man comes their way. Choose me to die.
Meat truck, come to bathe me in foodstuffs. Has your meat all expired? 'Cause it still looks okay. If I'm chosen, I'll have an expiration date too. In the meat truck, I'll fly away. Pet me, I'm as soft as a new cub. I was small in the old days. I was viable then. Near a trash fire, a toothless man would scream at my cage. Let the meat truck fly again. Blown up scarecrows haunt my dreams like a barely legal three-way. If I'm finally chosen and the bullet goes in, soon you'll find my skull on eBay. Kill me, it's expensive to feed me. Load me onto your meat truck with your meth-riddled grin. When the meat comes, the pizza shop will serve it to you. Let the meat truck